which means that, mute this. There we go. Okay, I think, let's angle that a little more that way. There we go. I think, yep, I can see myself on the screen. Good. All right, we're finally here. How many minutes late? 15 minutes late. Sorry about that. The live stream, the computer took over a different camera, which wasn't available, and we had to figure it all out. But we are live now. And you do see me, right? And you hear me? And got sound. Okay, good. Jeff is helping me out on the other side there. Thank you, Jeff, for your help there. Welcome to Coffee with the Birds, the birding tidbit segment of this program today. We just did a feeder watching session here and had 15 species of birds, including a pine siskin, which was great. Hopefully it'll show back up again for the second group. And so now we do this. We all gather together in this room for birding tidbits, bite-sized presentation of anything bird-related. We're going to go a little bit past 11, and it's okay. Those of you in the second feeder watching session, we'll do a little overtime if it works out for you. Apologies for the late start, but thank you for understanding. So we had the 2024 Mug Club Photo Contest this year, and we had 141 entries. And that's a record by far. I think our previous record was 95. Last year, I think we had 85. And suddenly it just jumped up to 141. It surprised us, but we were pleasantly surprised that we had more great photos to choose from. We're not going to belabor this real long. Here were our honorable mention winners. Dunlin by David Slickers, Barred Owl by Kevin Povens, Downy Woodpecker by Michael Burgeon, and Bufflehead by Joseph Malat. Are any of our photographers here today? Yes. So we got Mike Burgeon over here. He took the picture of the Downy Woodpecker. You can raise your hand. And for our honorable mention folks, we've got a calendar. I'll show that to those of you online, a calendar to give away to the winners here. So that's for you. Let's see, is Kevin here? No? You'll have to come by sometime and we'll get you your calendar, Kevin. Joseph, is he here? I didn't see him. Okay, but I know that, oh, I know somebody's here. Who did I not say? Kevin. I said Kevin, Michael, David, Slickers. Is he here? No. Only 1 for 4 here. We got all these calendars sitting here for you all. You have to come by the Nature Center and pick them up, but they are here for you. We won't give them away to somebody else. But our grand prize winner was Ryan Bebej with his picture of an American Avocet. And I know Ryan is here. Ryan, why don't you stand up? Come on, you can stand up. Here. Everybody online wants to see you too, Ryan. Yeah, he sat back down. He's got his calendar already. He picked up his prizes. Well, actually, his father-in-law picked up his prizes from the mug reveal, but he got a nice cedar bird feeder, bag of seed. He'll get to pick bird walks and gets a free bird field trip. What else? You got the calendar and a mug membership, which he had already bought a mug membership, so he used that one for his son Tyler. So those of you who don't remember or don't know Kyler, he is the kid that was it 2-3 years ago got to have a close-up look at a redpoll that had hit the window at the feeders, and we brought it in to help it recover, and he got to take a close look at it, and you can see that on the Coffee with the Birds live stream video. That's I can't remember, it was a February, a couple 2-3 years ago. So he's now a member. So thank you, congratulations. This is the picture now on our mugs. Right here, as you can see, American Avocet. And we switched up things. That's what the mug looks like there. And there's Ryan. I'm not embarrassing you at all, am I, Ryan? Not embarrassed. So he was actually presenting his Pictionary picture of a woodcock bird on a Pictionary contest for this summer's picnic with the birds. For Mug Club members, we have a picnic with the birds usually late July, and we do Pictionary, and he was presenting his Pictionary, so we did a little bit of Photoshop and made him present his photo here. And he's dressed as a bird. What bird is he dressed as? Goldfinch is a good guess? No. He's got blue arms and white stripes on those arms. Blue-wing warbler. Yep, blue-wing warbler. You can look it up yourself. They've got blue wings, a yellow body, and white stripes. Wing bars. White wing bars. So, pretty accurate there. And if you want to be a Mug Club member, we encourage you to do so. I see lots of you with mugs out there. That's excellent. Raise your mugs if you're a Mug Club member. Excellent work. Love it. You can buy it online. You can take a picture of this right now and take you to the website. You can buy it while you're sitting here. And I get boring, and then you just order your mug. So that's the easiest way to do it is if you buy it online, and then you can pick it up. We'll have your name on our list. You can pick it up at the desk in the back. If you need to use the system there, they can also help you out with purchasing it cash or credit card on the computer back there as well. And then don't forget, we've got a calendar. Those are for sale also for $25. You cannot purchase those online. They're an inventory item, so we have to sell them at the register back there. $25 to help support the program here too. So they've got 7 additional pictures beyond what pictures we have shown you here. All right. There we go. I told you about that. There's the pictures, the 7 additional pictures. And now we're going to get to the tidbits. Okay, set my mug there. So tidbits are bite-sized presentations on anything bird-related. And I like to vary it from session to session. Usually the December one is easy for me because I just have to interview the bird photography contest winners and we show the video. So I just stand back and watch the video. We decided that there wasn't enough time between Thanksgiving and now to try to put that video together. And so I had a chat with Riley. Some of you know Riley. And she said, can we put that off and do another one first? And I was like, okay. And this one, where we profile the winning bird species is usually in March. Well, I thought it was fair that if we're going to switch the interviews out till January, so in January you'll get to see the interviews of the photo contest winners. I've already done an interview here with Mike. He was the first one, but you'll get to watch that in January. But I figured you're getting these mugs with this bird on it, and maybe you don't know anything about American Avocet, or very little about it. Maybe you didn't even know that this bird comes to Ottawa County. How many of you, before this photo and this mug, didn't know that this bird comes to Ottawa County? Raise your hand. Look at that. Okay, people online got to see that. Raise your hands. There's a lot of hands raised out there. Okay. How many hands are raised out there, Jeff? I see others on there. Okay. This is an unusual bird. It's probably the rarest bird that we have put on the mug, but it is an annual visitor to Michigan. And I'll go into detail about that in a little bit. This picture was taken at Grand Haven North Pier, okay, July 3 of 2024. Okay, that gives you some clue as to when you might be looking for these birds here. Let's learn a little bit more about the American Avocet. I like to talk names because it's kind of fun. You know that about me if you've been in my programs before. What's in a name? American Avocet. Recurvarosta americana. Wow, say that 10 times fast. American first. We'll go through the common name. American, of course, it means it's from the Americas. That's easy, right? Easy. The American version of something. Avocet has some roots in Latin, avocetta. And avos refers to birds. Okay, avis is also, avos, avis. It refers to birds. So something to do with birds. Now, etta is the fun part. Etta is Italian meaning graceful and elegant. Okay, used as a term of endearment, indicating cute, affectionate, and tender relationship. When you look at this bird, do you see graceful and elegant? I do. So it's a bird of grace and elegance, right? What about recurva rostrum? Anybody know Latin? What is that referring to? The beak. And what about the beak? The curve of the beak. Okay, recurve and rostrum is the beak, right? That's the nose or the beak, rostrum, and recurve, meaning it's backward bent. Recurve, like a recurve bow, right? It bends backwards. You're exactly right. Recurvus is curved backward, and rostrum refers to the bill. So when we put all of that together, before we get to the putting it all together, I had to add this in there. There are 4 species in this genus of recurva rostrum around the world. Only 4. So there is the American Avocet, which we'll go over the range of here in the Americas, North America, I should say. Then there's a South American Andean Avocet, Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile, and southern Peru. Then there's the pied Avocet of temperate Europe and Western and Central Asia. That's this bird. Notice who took the picture. I mentioned I had gone to Europe. I couldn't enter this in the contest. Just wouldn't be right. On multiple levels, it wouldn't be right. But I said, this is a perfect excuse to throw one of my pictures in there. So this was at Lake Neusiedl in Austria in June of 2024, the pied avocet. Then there's also one in Australia called the red-necked avocet. So 4 species of that genus. And I have seen 2. Now, maybe I should go to the other places and see the other 2. But when you put it all together, so again, Americana here is the same as American, so it refers to from the Americas. If you put it together, it literally means American graceful bird with a backward bill. I kind of like that Latin name, right? That says it right there. Not too many birds look like that. Very recognizable. So let's identify these birds. Male and female. Did you know that there was a difference? Who notices the difference between these two birds right here? And I'm looking online too. Anybody see the difference between the two birds? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. You got to be careful. You're gonna... What's the difference? One is darker than the other. Yeah, that might be the lighting. This one's a little darker than the other. This one has got some shadowing on it, but there's something else about what's on the head. That's the difference. Do you see it? Oh, these guys are detailed. Look at that. The lower white stripe is whiter than on this one. This one's just got a ragged looking wing, doesn't it? It's probably older feathers. Recurva rostrum. That's your clue. Anybody see the difference between them now? The white ring around the beak. The white ring around the beak? Nope, they both got it. But if you look at the bill, which one, what's the difference here? It curves more. This is a straighter bill. Which one do you figure is which? Male and female? Other way around. She's not wrong. Okay. It's the other way around. So this is the female and this is the male. The males have a lesser curved bill. Not sure why that is, but this then would be a female. This is a picture I took in Dagmar, Montana in June of 2023 when I did my trip to North Dakota. I spilled over into Montana for a day to get 50 species for that state, which I did. One of them being this guy right here, American Avocet. I took both these pictures there. So they have long blue legs, which is a really weird thing for birds, right? Pretty blue legs, an upward turned or curved bill, rusty head, and black and white wings and back. Okay, that's the breeding bird of American Avocet. So that would be in the springtime into the summer. As they get closer to fall, then they change their plumage. Here they are in flight. So you can see that patterning on the back there, the black and white patterning. Really pretty in flight, especially when you get a whole bunch of them together like that. And here they are in the fall or non-breeding time, fall and winter. They have a whitish gray head versus, this is the spring bird again. So for comparison, whitish gray head. You see some darker gray on the nape and on the face. But this picture I took at Holland State Park, October 7 of 2019, a flock of them at Holland State Park. That was getting late. They don't typically come in that late, but I'll get to them in Michigan here in a little bit. But you can see they just lose that rusty color in the winter. Their legs maybe are a little more gray than blue. They lose a little bit of that too. Oh, how about their sounds? Want to hear what they sound like? Yeah. All right, here we go. We got to. This is the, and I'm going to start a video here too that I took in Montana. I do that when they're annoyed. I don't think you like me there. I'm like, oh. It was a very beautiful sound, right? Just a. That's about it. So where do they live? Their range is in western North America, west central U.S., out to the coast just in winter, but mainly breeding here in the red areas. So the yellow represents where they are in migration. The blue represents where they are in the winter. Purple represents where they are year-round. Okay, so you see Michigan's not on that list. Oh, I don't know what the world's going on there. We'll get to it. But you go out to these Great Plains states, that's where you find them. So when I was in North Dakota and I spilled over into Montana, I'm right in the heart of their territory there. They were all over the place in the prairie pothole areas, and in particular in these salt brine lakes. So they winter the southern U.S. down to Mexico. So they tend to move a little east in winter. That gives you a clue as to why we might see them in migration, okay? If they're going to go all the way to North Carolina and they're coming down from here, what's between there? See that migratory route? They don't have yellow over here, but maybe they should, because we get them in southern Michigan in particular in the summer when they start to migrate, when the adults migrate. So Michigan, look at this map. I like this map from Audubon. You see the light colored here? It says migration uncommon. So they move this direction to the Carolinas, and a few of them spill over onto the Great Lakes here in southern Michigan. And that's when we get them. That's when we get them the most regularly, is July and August. So July 3rd is probably one of the earlier ones. They might come very late June, but they've got to finish breeding, and then they disperse. So what is their habitat? This is the salt lake that I was at in Dagmar, Montana. Just an isolated lake, all salt and brine water there, all kinds of salt flies and stuff that these things were eating. You can see them standing out here in the water. There were more of them out there. And if you watch my video about my trip to North Dakota, and you watch the Montana segment, you'll see what else was out there. But Wilson's phalaropes were all over out there. Beautiful, beautiful, hundreds, thousands of them. So they like shallow, fresh, and saltwater wetlands, but lacking vegetation, including salt ponds like this. Notice how it's lacking vegetation. There's vegetation off to the edge, but they like the open areas. They like to feed out in the shallow water without vegetation. That's just kind of their niche. In migration, they tend toward intertidal mudflats, tidal lagoons, brackish impoundments, sewage ponds. Hey, why not? Right? Rice fields and flooded pastures and farm fields. Now, this is a flooded farm pasture of rice. This is a flooded rice field. I took this picture in Thornwell, Louisiana in October when I was there for a birding festival. And guess what's out there? There were American Avocets out there. I think I've got a video of one of the ones out in this field in the presentation here. So sparse vegetation, you can see, and shallow enough that their long legs can walk around in it. There we go. So how about nesting? This video that I'm going to show you is from YouTube by All Things Birdie. And I had to include it. Some of you might want to shade your eyes. But this is the mating ritual and courtship display of the American Avocet. And it's phenomenal. It's really pretty cool. Okay? So I'm going to play this for you for a moment. And I'm going to make sure that volume is up so you can hear the commentary on how they attract a mate.
I was lucky to be able to observe their mating display, which is quite elaborate. The pre-copulatory display is initiated by the female adopting the solicitation posture, often with her bill partly submerged in water. The male does what is called sexual preening, where he stands on one side of her, preening his breast feathers and periodically dipping his bill in the water. He does this several more times. Prior to mounting her, the preening and water splashing become more intense.
Now watch what happens.
In the post-copulatory display, he holds his wing around her and their bills are briefly crossed. This
Isn't
is
that
known as the
sweet?
bill crossed around.
He puts his arm around her and takes her for a little walk. What a dance. Now you know why I had to show you, right? The copulatory and courtship display is not something I always show for every bird that I profile, but I was like, okay, this one, yeah, we're doing it. So I hope you appreciate seeing that and learning something new about how avocets court. And then after courtship, the male and female are both involved in nest building and incubation. They build it on the ground as a scrape on the ground. It doesn't have to be surrounded by water. Sometimes it starts out not surrounded by water. It's just a scrape that's lightly lined with little sticks and grasses and feathers and things. It is often not ornately a nest like this one is, but this one was a free public domain from Fish and Wildlife Service, so I put it in there. They can be up away from the water just a little bit, but they're usually really close to water, if not right next to it. That often puts it at risk of flooding if there's a rainstorm that fills one of these lakes a little higher. So sometimes they'll have to build their nests a little higher and fill more into it in order to keep their nest dry. But it's just a scrape with little vegetation again near the water's edge. Incubation is about 3 to 4 weeks, and like I said, both the male and the female participate in incubation. This is the fun part. They protect their nest and nestlings against predators or any intruders. It doesn't matter who they are. It can even be a bird in the same family as them, not the same genus. What other bird is in that same family that might be hanging out with them out west? Anybody know it? They have long legs, just like these guys. Black-necked stilt. And the video here, I'm not going to show the video. I'm going to just show this part right now. The black-necked stilt was at the nest, and the female here is feigning a broken wing. A lot of shorebirds do that. It's not just the killdeer, but we are familiar with the killdeer because it's a really common bird. But this bird does it as well to try to lead them away from the eggs and the nest. Another thing they'll do, and one of the birds did this for me when I was there in Montana, was it ran up and it sat down. And I was like, is that its nest? It tricked me. It'll do fake nesting, thinking that that's the nest, and then it'll run away from it, and you go over and look, oh, it's not that, and then they lose you. So they're smart. They will fool you. I wonder, why is he just sitting down right there? And there was no nest. Yeah, here he is feigning a broken wing, and once he leads the predator far enough away, we'll go back to his nest or her nest. Yeah, isn't that cute? National Park Service picture of an American Avocet and chicks. So the hatchlings are hatched downy, flightless, but mobile within a few hours. Okay? And that's pretty amazing. So their eyes are open, they're ready to go right away. And the incredible thing is that they're entirely feeding themselves. The parents don't feed them. They just mimic them, I guess, and catch on to what they need to do. So it is sink or swim, right? And they can swim, actually. The adults and the chicks can swim in water as well. But here they are following along, looking at what dad is doing, right? So you can see the dad is involved in that lesser recurved bill. Here is a chick. This is a video I took of a single chick. I don't know if that was just the last one left in the litter or what, or in the brood. It's swimming, and I know it's swimming because it's swimming toward mom, who's standing fairly deep in the water. So that little thing is trying to keep up and feed. So they take flight in about 4 to 5 weeks. So they've got 4 or 5 weeks of following mom like this, learning how to feed and how things work, and then they are off on their own after a little over a month. Was it dad? I didn't take a close enough look. I should have. Following dad. Yep, they'll follow dad or mom, right, and learn how to catch what? Food. What food? Well, here's a variety of foods that they are looking for, or similar things to this. Beetles, water boatmen, like this, midges, like this, brine fly, like this. Here's the life cycle of a brine fly. These live in those brine lakes out there, and they're flying all around out there. So they can eat the larvae, they can eat the hatchlings and the flies, pupa as well. Fairy shrimp, like this, water fleas, amphipods, all these little invertebrates that live in the water. That's what they're picking out of there. And this is not the extent of their menu. They'll pretty much eat any aquatic insect, invertebrate that is out there. They're not going to be picky. And you might say, well, what does that bill have to do with feeding? Because that bill is really weird. Well, they have a unique method called scything, which they move their bill, because they can tuck their bill down at level with the water, right? Since it curves, they can dip it down level with the water, and they move it back and forth in the water, even with the water surface. You can't do that if you've got just a straight bill, right? So watch these. This is a video that you can find on Cornell's Macaulay Library or the allaboutbirds.org. This is one of the samples there. You can see how they move their beaks back and forth with their mouths open, waiting to catch something. They do it really fast. There's a Wilson's phalarope in the foreground. They also can peck the water. This is a video that I took. This is what they were doing when I was watching them. They'll just go and dip their beak in. Whatever they see at the surface, they'll just peck it off the surface. I like the scything, but I never did get to see them do that. And then they also, this is a video that I took in that rice field of the Avocet. They also plunge. They'll plunge their whole head down into the water. Long necks help them to reach down into the water, I guess. You can see that it's kind of stalking like a heron. That's what it reminds me of. So they got different feeding methods, but the scything really works well with especially the female, right? Because the bill being curved like that helps with being able to feed at the surface. Okay, so when and where in Ottawa County, Michigan, are you going to encounter this bird? A lot of you didn't know, you didn't have a clue, so I could tell you anything right now, couldn't I? I wouldn't get in trouble. I would later. When, hey, your method isn't working. Why am I not finding this in the middle of the woods somewhere? Well, if you saw the picture that Ryan took, you can tell where Ryan is. He's at Lake Michigan, okay? Grand Haven on July 3rd, it was, of 2024. So again, we're looking at this map. They migrate from these upper regions across. They're not numerous here, okay, in the winter. They're uncommon in the winter here. So that doesn't mean that means that there's not very many of them crossing this way, right? Not a huge percentage of the population. Most of the population is going to just go down south to here, okay? But some of them move across this way. And because some of them move across that way, they cross this bit of Lake Michigan, and they like shorelines too in migration. And I saw this when I was in Louisiana. We saw them right on the beach, okay? So they can forage on the beach while they're migrating as well. Here's a picture of them on the beach that I took in October of 2019 at Holland State Park. So when do you go and look for them? When are they showing up? Late April, they're moving back this way, okay? So you can sometimes catch them, but I feel like in the fall, I say fall, summer, right? But that's actually fall migration already. In the summer, you get a better chance of finding them. More of them come through. But in the spring, some are sighted coming through Michigan on their way back over here. In July and August, that tends to be the best time to go out to the lakeshore to look for them. Now, what else do you run into when you go to the lakeshore in July and August? People. So guess what time you need to get out there if you want to try to find this bird? Early, before everybody else does, right? What time did you take that picture? You're gonna.
It was a little bit later in the morning. So I went looking for something else. It was not successful. So this was like, I'll stop here on my way home. But there were people. I'll tell more of the story
In the interview? Okay. So if they have space, they can move down the beach a little bit, and maybe they're at North Beach, they had enough space, not enough walkers. The places like Holland State Park fill up so quickly, like the birds are not going to tolerate that. So you got to be there first thing, typically, if you want a good chance. Sometimes they're just flyby, and they don't even stop. So birders know if you want that bird, you got to get out there in July and August and do a lake watch. Do a lake watch. So here's the description. Thank you, Mannings, for the description. This is from their book. The shorebird, this shorebird has been recorded, and this is from the supplement. So it's talking about just the last from 2015 to 2020. It needs to be updated again. We're to 2025. We're going to have to update that book again, right? This shorebird has been recorded every year from 2015 through 2019, and I believe every year since. Primarily along Lake Michigan shoreline, all spring records have been between 28th of April, when 13 birds were near Lake Macatawa, and the 18th of May at Harbor Island. All fall records between 3 July of 2016. So you tied the early record at that point. 3 of July 2016 at Upper Macatawa Natural Area, and October 7 of 2019 at Holland State Park. Right there. Large numbers include 20 birds on 13th of July 2017 and at Holland State Park, and a total of 13 birds on the 13th of August 2016. So you can see it's usually 1 or 2 or maybe 3 or a small flock like this that can come through, but typically it's not going to be any more than 10. 20 birds and 13 birds are big flocks. This was a big flock for me. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. So that's where you find them in Ottawa County. Where? So again, Lake Michigan shoreline, the best places. However, sewage treatment facilities are good places as well. So if you go look through the fence at Coopersville Sewage Treatment Plant, that's a place. They show up at Muskegon Wastewater Facility, and they also show up at open wetlands, shallow open wetlands and flooded fields like you find at Upper Macatawa Natural Area, which is on the list. Okay, so those are the kinds of places. In spring, before the crops grow up, you get these flooded fields. If you get a big rain, and you know they like to feed out in these open areas without a lot of vegetation, you'll find them out in those farm fields sometimes. And that's sometimes, that's not every time. They're still a rare bird around here. But those are your times in spring to go look for them, these flooded fields. And with that, I'm going to draw this to a conclusion and get started on the next feeder watching session, but not before I take some questions about the Avocet. This is just the tip of the iceberg for Avocet, right? Had to do something short, to the point, but hopefully you now appreciate something more about the Avocet that you didn't know before. And every time you raise that mug to your mouth, you say, "Oh, that's a pretty cool bird." I'll never forget that courtship dance, right? How sweet. The male puts its wing around the female, does a little dance. Any questions?
Yeah. It's all in the water. They don't get their bill into the sand ground.
No, it's in the water. Yep. Good question. They do not probe into the sand. That's the question. I'm going to repeat questions so people online can hear me. Any other questions?
What's the size relation to?
Size relation to, it's much smaller than blue heron. It's maybe mallard size. So they're fairly decent size, and not as chunky. But I'm talking about height, length, that kind of thing. Mallardish is maybe even a little bit big, but they're tall too. So, but they're a fairly decent sized shorebird. They're not a small shorebird. Yep. And I can get some measurements out here. Who else has a question? You do in the back there. Oh, so the question is, in fall, do they get whiter so that they can hide in the snow? I wish I could say that was true, because that's a really cool reason to turn white. But where they go, there is no snow. So maybe it's the white sand beaches of Florida and the Gulf Coast, huh? Maybe that's something to do with it. Good question. Did you have a question?
I guess that if they're in that big bodies of water, it tends to be on the calmer days that you see it.
Yeah. If they're, well, they could be on a stormy day, but then they'll be up higher on the beach. They just won't be way out. Yeah. So stormy weather, where will they be? Up on the beach. They might actually not hang out as long if they are going to have a hard time feeding or anything like that. And I don't know that I've ever, the ones that I've encountered, seen them feeding right on the beach. That might be just resting too. But they like their feet in the water, so they gotta be on the shoreline. Any other questions this side? No? Over here, we have more questions on this side. All right.
I have two, and one of them has to do with your comment about the spiking action of the beat. Is that, and you said important for the female, more important for the female.
Well, I suspect it is, just because their bill is more curved, so it allows them to do it more effectively, whereas the males is less curved, so then it would be a little bit more maybe for them to get the angle on it. So I don't know if there's any research out there as to how often a male feeds in that manner versus females, but my guess is that they do it less than the females do, just because of the bill shape. So not sure though. That was a guess. That was off the top of my head guess. So. Anybody else? No? Okay, well, thank you so much for coming. Those of you who are headed out, oh my goodness. Yeah, so you know what? This is the slide that I was missing. It's the Mug Club door prize time. So, can I have the door prize container come up to the front? Tabitha's grabbing it. Because what we have, we'll do two. We've got a feeder, bird feeder, and we've got seed. You need seed for a bird feeder, right? Thank you, Natalie. Mrs. Natalie. I mentioned her. Okay, so these are all Mug Club members that have bought their mugs. Your names have been put in here. Even if you bought it today, they were adding them in. I'm trusting they were adding them all in. There's a lot of names. We've sold over 50 of these mugs already. So, yeah, I think I got one. I do. Cindy Dobrez, and she's not here. But because we have people online, Cindy, you have won yourself a feeder, and I'll show you. Here's your feeder. You're going to have to come to the Nature Center to pick it up right here, but congratulations on a feeder and a big bag of seed here, okay? And another prize is going to be your choice of a bird pin. These are here to give away to our winners. They're not prizes right now. Sorry. And so I will pull out a name, and you can choose one of the remaining bird pins. Eventually, these bird pins are going to be gone. But you, Doug Kuiper, is he here? Another one not here. I've promised that that I would give prizes even if they weren't here, since we're doing it online. Doug Kuiper, you win your choice of a bird pin. Okay, so now you can look at them. You can decide which one you want. You have to come into the Nature Center to get it, all right? Okay. Well, thank you so much. If you are joining me for the second feeder watching session, you can feel free to move on over into the wildlife den. I'm going to get a little refill on the coffee, help my voice, and I'll meet you there. But thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, everybody online. I'm looking and seeing if there's any comments I need to respond to. Looks like that. Oh, just a congrats to Cindy. Yep. Well, thank you so much for joining online. I'm going to end the stream now, and I hope to see you out here at the Nature Center in the near future and out on the birding trail. So thank you so much for joining.